Greetings and good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is where you is. I'm Tom Connors, and we're here to talk about Mandalorian. With us, we got Andre the Boss Man. How you doing?
Greetings, everyone. We are a little bit overdue with this review, so we're going to do several episodes right now. Sorry about that, but we just have to get caught up before the finale, and that's what we're doing right now. And I'm not the only one, am I?
No. And we also have with us our resident script doctor. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How's everybody doing since the last show?
Hopefully good. He's got the cure for all your entertainment needs. And also with us is the voice of Midnight's Edge, Mr. Santa Claus.
In the words of my avatar, ho ho ho, stick 'em up.
No presents for Moose and Squirrel.
Indeed.
So, Andre, which episodes we're here to talk about now? The Mandalorian.
Yeah, we are definitely talking about the last two episodes, but I can't remember. Are we 2 or 3 episodes behind in reviews? I
think we're 3.
I think we're 3 episodes behind, aren't we?
I can't remember I know we did 2 the last time, but I don't remember.
Did we talk about Ahsoka Tano last time?
I don't know.
I'm about to find out because we've done so many streams, so many things that this is the kind of thing we probably should have checked before we went live.
It's been a tight schedule today.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty with live shows. Here you got to get all the nuts and bolts behind the scenes, including, remember, what did we review again? Because last episode was the last one I see here is season 2, episode 4. Now, what would that translate to in chapter?
That would be chapter 13. No, what am I doing? Math. Chapter 12. Chapter 12 was the last one then.
Okay, so that means that the last one we did was the siege. Then we're 3 episodes behind, aren't we?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
because
okay.
siege would be that's the Cara Dune and Grief Karga. That's Carl Weathers.
Yes, that was a really good one, by the way. Okay, so then the first one we'll be talking about is season 2, episode 5, which would be chapter 13, wouldn't it?
Yeah. 5. Yes, 13
right now.
Sure,
yeah, that'd be 13. That'd be 13. That's called the Jedi.
Yes, and that would be the Ahsoka Tano episode that we still haven't gotten to. So let's begin with that. So everyone think back then to the episode The Jedi, in which we were introduced to not just Ahsoka Tano, but also Michael Biehn, who was the other star of that episode. And then, of course, the story was basically that the Mando was given the task of taking down a Jedi, one of his historic enemies. Now, he listened to what the assignment was, but he didn't formally accept it. So he kind of like had an out there. And the Jedi he was to take down was, of course, the very same one that he was looking for, namely Ahsoka Tano. So, what did you all think about Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano? Script, I'm sure you must be quite familiar with Ahsoka Tano, so let's begin with you.
Actually, I'm not, because I don't really follow the Clone Wars cartoon series all that much. I kind of dipped in and out various times, but I enjoyed the performance from Rosario Dawson. I felt the lines that she was given to speak were quite poor, but she did the best she could with them, and they had some stuff there. I felt Michael Biehn was kind of wasted in the show. And I did like the dramatic irony of the Mandalorian and getting given that quest. I like the fact that he doesn't commit to anything, but it's kind of ironic that he's there to look for Ahsoka, and he's dealing with someone that wants her dead. And we know from that context he's not going to do anything to harm her. Like it's great. Like that's a good way to frame a scene for some fun. But yeah, I thought she was okay. I liked most of the makeup. I liked the head piece. Looked a little off. Looked like it was kind of made out of leather and solid rubber as opposed to something a bit more organic. But outside of that, I can't really speak much to it because I'm not fully ingratiated with the character. So
Yeah. Rob, you more familiar with her?
No, not really. I know of the character. I don't know anything about her. I mean, I like Rosario Dawson. I like whatever she does. I mean, but as far as she was really brought the character. No, I can't for sure say that. I mean, it's yeah. You know what? Rosario Dawson was good. I can't say how accurate the portrayal was, but like I said, I like Rosario Dawson. So to me, it's Rosario Dawson playing another part. If that's understandable.
It's perfectly understandable. I feel exactly the same way. I've never watched any of the animated stuff. I never will, but I'm a big fan of Rosario Dawson, and I'm willing to forgive whatever slight discrepancies there were from the animation I've never seen. I liked seeing her, so bring it. Tom, what did you think?
I fucking hated her in the Clone Wars movie. I've only seen her a few times outside of that in a couple of Clone Wars episodes, but not. I've only seen a handful of those. I like Rosario Dawson, but as far as Ahsoka goes, I could give a shit. And as far as the character goes, I think she's very problematic. Because it's like, where the fuck was she during Star Wars and Empire and Jedi? Other than that, I thought Rosario did fine. I didn't find the character a big problem here per se, but I'm still have that big opening of where was she? I was more enthused about finally getting to find out a little bit more about Grogu, or that's where we got to find out his name.
Yeah, this is true. That's where Grogu come into the picture. This is true. Yeah, carry on.
No, I mean, other than that, I really just she was there. As far as Michael Biehn, I kind of felt like he was underutilized.
Oh, very.
If not underutilized, underwritten, I guess is a better way, because he was in it enough, but the character just felt very shallow, and
he had like 6 lines. Like, it was really thin.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know, dank is the word I'm looking for, but just like not very. It just felt like he was really phoning it in.
It wasn't even that he's phoning. I wouldn't blame him for phoning it in when you're told, "Hey, you're going to be in Star Wars show. Here's your episode." It's like 3 pivotal scenes, and you have barely anything to say in either of them, and you're not really given anything to do other than die. It's just
what? No. Wait for it and then die.
Yeah, wait for it and then die. Yeah, exactly.
well, not for nothing. That's kind of what Michael Biehn does, though. That's pretty much in the,
Well, they kind of gave him something interesting. Like, it was like you got this whole thing where he was going to like make a deal, and he knew kind of what's going on a little bit more than other people. But then, it just kind of went nowhere. I don't know, unless you were talking about something else, Script.
Well, I will say this. Michael Biehn did a fake trailer for a movie in the Grindhouse film called Thanksgiving, and he was more interesting in that role than he was in the full 23 minutes of The Mandalorian. And that was like a less than a minute part. And you could see he did more and have more care of that role than this one.
What? I can tell you why. That would be because he was thinking, if this really works, we're going to make the whole movie.
Probably.
Yeah. You saw it really worked with Machete. That's the movie. And the moment that Machete was announced, I bet you he was thinking, oh gosh darn it, there goes my movie.
Well, it wasn't just Machete, but also Hobo with a Shotgun. So those are the 2.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That went in there, and they were going. The initial plan was to do more, but for I think it was Death Proof that did not do as well as Planet Terror, and then Machete was kind of like the long shot afterwards, and that kind of did okay, but it was more too instantly a cult film for them to use as collateral for money.
And the sad thing is that, not to go off on a tangent here, but the trailer for Machete really was better than the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, to get back to the Mandalorian, Grogu. What do you feel about the name? Or the rest of you? I feel it sounds like very, I don't know, harsh and doesn't roll off the tongue in a very nice way.
I mean, there's been a lot of people who've been making fun of it. I mean, it does sound like something you would use to get an erection. But
or clean up after an erection.
yeah, well, it just, I thought it was kind of more so just kind of an anagram of George's name to a point without an E, but I don't know. I mean, they could even have spelt it with an E, really, and it probably would have helped, but I don't know. The name's kind of meh. It's always going to be Baby Yoda.
It's an unexpected name, that's for sure. I don't think anyone would have guessed it.
But I mean, we did get a lot of history of the child and where he came from, where he's been. Possibly, he doesn't necessarily talk, but that doesn't mean he can't communicate. We've learned he's had some training, so that explains, why he knows some of the things he does.
Yeah, his ability to use the Force, to heal, to hold off fire, to raise a giant rhinoceros.
Hey, he learned that on Sesame Street.
Yeah.
But but it opened up a few more questions, like who's the baby daddy, and we kind of know who probably is.
Yoda, you are the father. Father, I am not. Test is wrong.
Yeah, it's probably like either like the son or clone or something. I mean, there's no shortage of clones in the world of Star Wars, is there? So yeah.
Well, it most likely is not a clone, because I guess I've been repeatedly told that clones in the Star Wars universe, as far as especially Force clones, break down right away. So the way that he sounds like he was a naturally born baby.
And then protected as such, yeah.
And protected as such, yeah. But what's funny is, how he just was never even mentioned or showed up anywhere in the OG or the prequel trilogy at all. I mean, I can understand him being hidden for so long, and if, the way they age and, how he's going to be basically not useful for about 100 or so years, maybe. I could understand, not bringing him up. And you can retroactively go, oh, well, that's what Yoda obviously meant when he meant there was another, if he doesn't mean Leia, But
we just got to wait another 50 years.
Yeah. Well, that's like the cool thing when you just have like there is another. You can play around with it a little bit. It can change meaning 15 times over. So yeah.
Oh yeah, it's very ambiguous, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, the one thing that's kind of a little unfortunate, but also at the same time biting at my curiosity is there needs to be more understanding of the biology of this thing, because I don't understand how a species that can be cognizant could still be in a state of also arrested development for 50 years when it comes to interaction.
Well, I don't know about that part, but we do know that it's at least been in captivity for at least 30 years, because like that was what she said, is that he was raised at the temple, with the rest of the Jedi or whatever, or trained, through by various trainers. And then when the siege happened, he was hidden, and then he was captured later on by the Empire. So we can assume that for like the last 20 to however many years, he's been, Lord knows, just kept in a cell for all we know.
Kept in a cell, experimented on, who knows? Yeah, tons of horrible things, and he could be in this state of post-traumatic
and
stress.
That's kind of what Ahsoka, I think, was saying with the whole he's forgotten how to do a lot of things, and it's probably better to just let him continue to forget how to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
he says forget, but like before that, she's like, the Force is what gives him his powers, and then she's like, let his powers fade. It's like, well, the Force isn't fading.
No, I know, but I think she means more like the forgetting how to use them is what I think she was kind of getting at, but I could be wrong. So
could be. I mean, like, I understand what you're getting at. It's just it's like let his memory fade of how to use the powers would probably be more precise.
Indeed. But Grogu, Rob, do you have any strong thoughts on Grogu before we round up this episode and move on to the next one?
Not really. Just, cute. I still call him Baby Yoda. Just because it's a... yeah.
Well, he probably is the baby daddy. So
yeah, probably. I mean, come on, how many little green guys have we seen in the Star Wars trilogy? Just one, up until now.
Should
was
be Yoda-san.
Yoda and Yaddle. That was it.
Yep.
Yeah, and see if that's the thing. If it is their child, it should have went with a Y name, definitely. Like Yiddle.
Or Yordle.
So Yiddle.
I think they probably have a few more surprises that they want to keep in store for us, don't you think?
Yeah.
I'm just having trouble picturing. Yoda has some Java juice. The one night, and he looks over at Yaddle. Nasty we will do.
Oh my god!
I'm willing to bet is how old they are. They probably only reproduce like once in their life, probably, and how
we don't
rare
know how
they
long
are.
the pregnancy would take.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
A couple
We were
of
talking
centuries.
about that. We were waxing about that one night. It's like, how do we know she wasn't fucking pregnant for like 300 years?
Yeah. I mean,
carry kid around now, you will, for next 60, 50, 60 years.
could be.
Like the milkman he looks.
Well, just consider
Tom, new cartoon idea: Life with the Yodas.
Oh shit!
Oh shit! Yeah, that's where the real Christmas special should have been. But yeah, no. Just consider the Vulcans. Like they only get down and dirty once every 7 years. So, and then they live for like 200 years only. So imagine Yoda's species that lives for 1,000. Like I don't expect too much action.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm going by is that Yoda was like 900 some years old when he died. So, and he died of natural causes. It looked like, at least.
Yeah, it looked like old
needed
age.
rest.
Yeah.
Rest he needed.
Yeah, I mean, the episode had less issues than the previous ones, but it did have some weird stuff. Like that opening act was pretty cool with like her mowing down some of the guys, but then she gets to the front gate and says, "Okay, I'm going to turn around now, and I'll be back in a day." And it's like, why not just finish your job, or not use that opening act at all and save it for after the Mandalorian shows up, so that it's part of the actual siege on the village, and then you have a better flow of an action set piece.
Because somebody has to walk away. They just have to let somebody walk away scot-free. Don't you know that? That's the rule number one of modern storytelling script.
Yeah, I know. And competence supersedes everything else. Yeah. The idea that she has to train him. I'm like, I don't remember training ever being a part of this baby child's journey. It's all just hand him off to the Jedi. Bye-bye. Like,
that's true. Now that you mention that, at no point before this, he's like just taking the baby. Nothing about training him.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if he's well versed in the Force or not. The whole idea was return him to his people, and so Ahsoka's little contention of I can't train him is like, I didn't ask you to train him, lady. I just told you to get him back to the rest of his kind, and you for all intents and purposes are the closest thing. Here you go. My mission is done. I'm going to go start hunting bad guys in the galaxy for money.
Well, as we all been saying all this time, his kind, in quotations, is obviously Jedi, because there probably is no other Yoda species left. He's probably the last.
Possibly, yeah. Exactly. And that's why, because this is the other thing. It's something that I don't understand from fellow fans of Star Wars, which is just because you have an aptitude to Force does not mean you have to be trained or have to become a Jedi. Like, you have to give the character the choice to do that. And in this case here, Ahsoka's not even presenting that. She's just an outright rejection, not just of training him, but also of not even taking responsibility for him, knowing some more about this species than anyone else so far has seen.
like someone's gonna say, I got all these great Force abilities, but I think I'll stick around here and do some moisture farming.
Yeah, you never know, right? But before they start expanding Beru as a character, after that first movie, people thought that Beru was the sister of Anakin Skywalker, and that's how they were related, and she could have had that Force thing, and this shows no, I'll be a farmer.
Don't give people any ideas. Aunt Beru Jedi Knight.
Well, they already confirmed that she's not related by blood to anyone, so we're okay there.
Yeah, well, she's Lars. Lars, what was his Bumstead? Whatever his name was.
Stepbrother, yeah.
Okay, just consider this. They were going to make Aunt May of Spider-Man fame a secret agent. So
Agent May.
After they already made, I think Peter Parker's both of her parents made members of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a time too.
Yeah, exactly. So it was basically Aunt May, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Nothing is off the table. In other words.
Yeah, that's
May Riley, Agent May Riley of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So seriously, do not give ideas.
Oh Lord! We did get a couple super chats here. Did you want to?
Yeah, let's do the super chats, and then we do
Stephen
the final
Otten says with $5. He's the butler's kid. I'll give you a minute on that one. Don't throw me out on the chat.
Oh, God.
Unless it's a Schwarzenegger joke, I'm not sure I get it. Molecular Arts sends in with an Australian $7.99. Mike the Headless Chicken was a cockerel that lived for 18 months after his head was cut off. A bit like the Disney Story Group. Ouch, that's harsh. I did not know that.
Lived or operated on reflex.
I've heard about that, and I've heard about that. The headless chicken. That's disturbing.
Not as disturbing as headless snakes. So don't go to YouTube and look for that.
Thanks a lot. I hate snakes to begin with.
Yeah, okay. Or I don't know which is worse, the severed head or the rest of the body. Neither seems to know they're dead. So.
Oh Lord. All right. So, is there anything more we needed to say about this episode?
What are your final thoughts on the episode at large?
Good.
I liked the atmosphere of it. For the most part, I dug it. It was probably one of the better episodes of the season. Outside of that, I don't know. It was all right.
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah. August Ragone says Ahsoka is also not a Jedi per se. Well, she's wearing a uniform.
She knows enough about the Force that she could convince others she's a Jedi.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to follow the creed, if you will, but
Well, this episode was good. I mean, it's like I said, it's good. The Mandalorian is good enough. You don't feel like you've wasted your time.
Well, when you measure it against the sequel trilogy, yeah. But I try to measure it against the best of the best. So I'm like, it's all right.
I think that's a really tall order, given where it comes from. I mean, I think for Star Wars, baby steps is kind of like the standard you have to expect here. And for that, given what immediately came before, I think it's doing pretty good. I mean, it came from a pretty bad gutter. I'm not going to expect perfection right off the bat, but this is in my opinion, a pretty good step towards it. And it keeps on getting better and better. And speaking of better and better, let us now move into the very next episode.
I was just going to say, as far as being the fact that this episode was nothing more than to set up an Ahsoka series, it could have been worse.
Yeah, as far as backdoor pilots go, I've absolutely seen worse.
Which we won't be getting for 4 years, so.
We'll see. I think that one will happen before some of the other ones.
Yeah, it would not surprise me. It would not surprise me if that one happens.
But yeah, so in the next episode, Andre.
Yes, the next episode. Now, this is the more interesting one. That would be Chapter 14, The Tragedy. And this one was actually directed by Robert Rodriguez, who is someone that's been in line to direct Conan and many other cool stuff. And now, finally, he got to direct Star Wars in the shape of The Mandalorian. And this episode then basically follows on from the previous episode, in which Ahsoka said, go to that mountaintop on that remote planet over there and put him on a rock and he'll start meditating. And that is what Mando does. And after some false starts, Grogu starts meditating and is in a force field. But alas, they're being followed by Moff Gideon and he sends his forces, and Mando appears to be in trouble when someone comes and bails him out in the iconic spaceship Slave One, and that would be the real Boba Fett wanting his armor back, which he eventually gets. And it doesn't fit him as well anymore. But that's the gist. That's the gist of the episode. So, gentlemen, what did you think of the return of Boba Fett?
I know I shouldn't.
Let's start with you this time.
I know I
Boba
shouldn't.
Fett.
Yeah, I was about to say I know I shouldn't talk about the shape I'm in, but it's more like Boba Fett now. I was like, I'm just glad that he didn't that KK didn't gender swap him, and now it's Boba Fett. You know.
Oh, don't say never yet.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Boba Fett is a blank slate. You can see whatever you want in Boba Fett, and that was part of the appeal. Tamura Morrison, I like him. He was in the movie Once We Were Warriors, New Zealand movie. That was actually really good. Good actor. Hey, listen, it's at this point, I think it raises more questions like how did he escape from the Sarlacc pit? That's really the only question it raises. And where's he been?
Well, maybe the Krayt Dragon ate the Sarlacc pit and thus allowed him to escape. I mean, that's what the best you can infer from that first episode of the season. Yeah.
Or maybe he had some kind of poison in his, stored in his armor to poison the Sarlacc, but that would take a lot. But anyway,
thousands of years for it to digest the poison.
Yeah, exactly.
How long to get through the system now?
But anyway, so how did the armor get just the armor get recovered when he gets separated from the armor? Yada yada yada. But listen, it's another piece of the puzzle. Ming-Na Wen's character showed up again, and that was kind of cool. But she's like part cyborg now too, or something, right?
Yeah,
she has.
They replaced her belly by the looks of it.
Artificial stomach now.
Yeah. Well, she still looks great anyway. So.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, like I said, now it's 2 more players. Someone said this, it might have been Gary, but you can tell now. I'm starting to see it more. The Mandalorian is written like a video game. Place Grogu on the altar. Protect Grogu. You know, it's this weird thing. I'm starting to notice that now in each episode.
Get armor upgrade. You know, get quest for transaction.
You forgot your booster pack. You can't.
You forgot your jetpack. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
No, I've been making comments of that since the first season as well. Like it's very much modeled like a video game.
Maybe it's absolutely yes. It's really starting to show.
Maybe that's why they say maybe that's why, as they say, the kids like it because that's what they relate to.
Yeah, but it's a very old school narrative to a video game because my understanding is that a lot of video games have a bit more of a story element to them as opposed to just the normal transactional means, the normal get from point A to point B, kill these guys, etc., etc. Like, I mean, I understand like the Uncharted games were really big with regards to the lore and story that were going in there, but I don't feel we're getting the same level of quality with regards to the Mandalorian as much. I think it's kind of relying too much on stuff that's already been established as opposed to being able to give us something a little bit more new.
To a point, I get what you're saying. Yeah. But like, I mean, overall, this episode was really kind of uneven in my opinion. It had some great action set pieces, which of course Robert Rodriguez is great at. But overall, I felt like there was just some moments, and I know Script, you've had some fun with them, and I know we've joked about him in other places, but you know, the whole jetpack thing, him trying to get Baby Yoda out of the force field like 4 times too many times. You know, like after the second time, he should have been like, all right, you stay here, I'll go protect you. You know, like that's when the joke works. After the 4th or 5th time, it just makes him look stupid. You know, it's like, okay, we get it. You've tried so many times now. When are you going to get the idea that you can't get through here? He's fine. You know, it's like, go deal with the other shit. You know, and just some stupid things here and there that were just kind of like, but overall, though, it was, you know, it was all right. But like, yeah, there was just way too many stormtroopers.
And they didn't have any effect, which was also worrisome. Because it's like, even in that large a quantity, you think they'd be able to like do something. And They did. They shot a boulder. They didn't miss that boulder, but they missed everything else.
Yeah, they would have had them pinned down, I would think, the way it just felt like there's no way they should have been able to get out of that. It just, I don't know. There was just certain things that I kind of felt like whatever. And then the moment where is it this one where the Razor Crest got blew up, or is it the next one?
Yeah, this is
No,
the one
that's
where
this
the
one.
Razor Crest gets blown
Okay,
up.
so like the moment that fucker got blew up and the moment he said, I'm going to make sure that, you know, we save that kid, I knew from that moment, mark my words, they're going to kill Boba Fett in the next episode, probably. And I mean, the next one coming up, like not the next one we're going to talk about, but we'll get to that part. But, and again, I think that's wise. They're going to end up giving his ship to Mando, and then what's her face, the one you were just talking about,
Fennec Shand.
yeah,
Ming-Na Wen.
she's going to get his fucking armor. And that's why I said don't jump to conclusions yet, or never say never yet, Rob, because we'll have Boba Fett yet.
No, well, you never know what's going to be spawned from Kathleen Kennedy's, haunted, you know what. So,
Well, I will say this: there might be something to that, because it's my understanding that Emily Swallow, who played the armorer, is supposed to be in this season, and she hasn't shown up yet. So she might appear in the final episode to help something.
Yeah, you're
And-
not wrong. You kind of like you had like the setup with now she is there as like the aide to Boba Fett. So yeah, I
She's
wouldn't
the
be
trainer. Yeah,
surprised
you go
if
to
there's
her for a
something
level
to
up.
And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll just say I'm wrong. You know?
Yeah, I honestly, I hope you are, because I have to say, I liked this. I thought it was really awesome to see Boba Fett come back. And yeah, the actor, he has put on a bit of weight, but that scene with him shooting down the stormtroopers and beating them up and kicking them in the nuts and blowing up their ships and everything. Honestly, that's the most badass Boba Fett has ever been. As you said earlier, Rob, Boba Fett has always been something of like a blank slate. You read into him. He's been a costume. We've been told that he's a badass, but we've never actually seen it. What we've seen is that he seemingly died in a ridiculous way in Return of the Jedi. This is the first time on screen we've seen him utterly kick ass. And if the actor, okay, fine. So he's put on a few kilos. He's allowed to, at his age, he can still kick ass with the best of them. And so I was
like
just
it-
happy to see him back.
and for those, for people to say, he's all fat now. I'm like, come on, we all put on weight when we get older, but, you know.
Never underestimate the strength that you can still have, even if you put on some weight. Yeah, okay, so you have some more bulk. All that means is that if you are reasonably fit and you know how to fight, you're going to fight or hit harder, because you're going to have all that more mass behind each punch. So it's not good. It'll make him slightly less nimble. It's going to make him slightly less agile. But he didn't use any of that here. It was brute power, and yeah. So I'm quite happy with Fat Mando.
Yeah. What's the equation? Weight times velocity equals force, or something like that.
Yes.
Mass times velocity equals force. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for all the reasons you just said, Andre, is why I think they're going to kill him. Because they're bringing somebody back who was an anti-hero. They're making him a big hero, and plus he's so kick-ass, he's going to overshadow the main star of their show. And I don't know why everybody thinks they're going to kill Mandalorian. It's not going to happen.
No, I agree. That's not going to happen. But still, it would suck so badly if they did, though. Brought him back just to kill him off again. Yeah, probably you're right. You're probably right.
It would fit the pattern.
I just wish that they did.
It's a pattern of writing. It's the pattern of them. Not only that, the actor, his age, he's in Aquaman and stuff like that. And even if they do a series, I bet you $5 is a prequel.
Yeah, but this right here, this is where they should be subverting expectations.
But they won't. And I get it. Honestly, I have no real horse in the race. I've never had a Boba fetish. I don't hate the character, but I've never been one of those like, oh my God, it's Boba Fett either. So like in this case, I'm seeing it from a writer's perspective, and I just see where the chips are falling into place. And it's like, I just see it happening. I don't see them keeping him around longer than a couple episodes. And why else would you obliterate the Razor Crest if you weren't going to give Mando the fucking Slave One? I just don't. And you set up the other character like his surrogate daughter. So what better way to move in some female Boba Fett and give her the armor?
Well, there is that mentor aspect that you're pulling out here, like with the writing 101 aspect. Like Boba Fett's a more experienced Mandalorian. He's been doing it longer than the Mandalorian we've been watching. And he does feel like he could be in a position where he could probably teach the Mandalorian something about, being able to fight or what have you, that he wasn't able to learn within his normal covert. We haven't seen that exact opportunity as of yet. So I would not be surprised if there was a plan to take him out. But I don't know if that's going to be if it's the end of this season. It seems like they kind of like shot their load before they even loaded the gun. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from there, especially because like you can take a look at the destruction of the Razor Quest and equate that to the destruction of the Lars Homestead with Luke. Like now he has to go with Obi-Wan. Before he had that out.
If they build a new Razor Crest, that is like worse than cartoon shit.
That might be what the Armorer could have done. Because again, she hasn't shown up in the show, and Emily Swallow did confirm that she was in the second season.
I hope that that ship is gone, because otherwise the sacrifice doesn't matter. Like one of the worst cop-outs in history was in Star Trek Beyond, a movie that I actually like, but they destroy the Enterprise in the beginning of the movie, and by the end, oh look, we just so happen to have this new in-construction ship here at the base, which is just the same as the one you're having, so we're just going to call it Enterprise and just give it to you. And screw what it was originally meant for. That was, yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about, Nubisi, or however you say your name. This is not going to happen. They are not going to kill Mandalorian and let Boba Fett take over the show. It's just, it would be so far out there.
That is like something a lot of fans always seem to go to. Oh yeah, they should totally kill Spider-Man and make Miles Morales the star of the new movie. Oh yeah, they should totally kill Mando and make Boba Fett. I'm like, no, that's bad. That's not the way you do it.
And even if there was problems on the set, even though Pedro says there wasn't, and I love how many people believe his wording on that. But anyway, we're even going past that. Even if there was issues, they would recast his role before they would kill the character.
They would
the show.
They would just get a voiceover actor and they just have one of the stuntmen be Mando.
Pretty much already is. 9 times out of 10, when you don't see him outside of with the mask off, it's always a stuntman. It's one of 2 stuntmen. Yeah,
yeah. There's always like 2 or 3 Mandos on set. Like just like when you make a Batman movie, there's 2 or 3.
Well, you can kind of tell the 2 apart because the one's got much broader shoulders than the other 2.
Yeah.
It's so funny when you get like 3 different people and they look nothing like each other, and screw the face, but they have their bodies look nothing like each other. I'm like surprised how they were able to get away with that.
Yeah,
find out 3 people with
and
so
it's the same
different
size of armor on all 3 of them too, which is how you can notice it so easily.
Yeah.
And right here is the same reason why I think they would kill Mando already, or I mean Boba Fett already, for that specific reason. He's a strong male character, and I just don't see them keeping him around.
Hey, but that's only if basically someone usurps, I would say, Jon Favreau, who's the showrunner, who maybe either wants to keep him alive or doesn't. If they set up high up and said, hey, listen, if you want a 3rd season of Mandalorian, you got to kill Boba Fett, he would have to do it. And he probably wouldn't like it. But outside of that, I mean, Favreau is not in the same narrative ideology as the rest of Disney at this point.
Well,
like
even if
he has to make some compensations, of course, or compromises.
Well, I don't want to keep going on with this, but even if you do keep him in a mentor role, like you were saying, script, which wouldn't be bad, he still takes away from Boba Fett being there. Takes away from.
It takes the spotlight off of the Mandalorian, even more so.
So, like, that's where I see that, just from their point of view, that's not going to happen. At least if it does, it's a very slim chance. And that's all I have to say about it. We can move on. We got to
come. Let's do the super chats.
All right. What was the one we left off on, or where are we at here? It's only got 2 on the screen, so
give me 1 second, and I shall find that out promptly. The next one, we have 2 on the screens.
Yep.
On the screen, yeah. The next one that we have is from Andres Fernandez, who says for 50 ARS. I'm not entirely sure exactly which currency that is. I keep on forgetting.
That was the pesos one.
But
That's Argentinian pesos.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Exactly, Argentinian pesos. Well, muchos gracias. And he says, do you think the fans will be okay with giving Boba's armor to a woman under Kathleen Kennedy? Don't think so. It will destroy good faith with the show.
They don't care, or she don't care.
No, and I think that Kathleen Kennedy would probably be happy to see the show.
That's another reason why I think it'll happen. Is that's directly something she would do.
Another toxic man removed from Star Wars.
Not unless they decide to lean into the EU, because I think Boba Fett has a daughter in the books. So,
well, no, that's what I'm saying. They set up what's her face.
Fennec as the
Fennec
surrogate.
is kind of the surrogate daughter already. So, like, that's where I see her getting his.
But isn't Ming-Na Wen like only a few years younger than Tomorrow?
It doesn't matter. She'll probably get her own spin-off show. It doesn't mean she has to stay on the show.
Yeah, but here's like the thing that she can pass for like 30-something. She can easily pass for like 20 years younger her actual age. So of course, in actual reality, she and Tamara are about the same age, but it doesn't look like it. So that's what matters.
Ming-Na Wen is 54. Tamara Morrison's almost 60.
Yeah, so
yeah, I know, and I get that point, but it's just I just don't see it. Yeah. Anyway, Phil Moore says with $5, Mando taking the Boba Fett moniker is probably true. Slave One will become Hope One, and that sounds. Well, we've been joking about how Slave One is a problematic name, and that's another thing. There you go. And I know there's multiple slave ships, but has that been established in the Disney canon yet? That's the question.
No, this is the first establishment of anything Boba Fett in the Disney canon, I think.
No, he's a fairly blank slate still. They can do whatever they want with him in the canon, as far as I know. Now, there's something in the comics that Disney put out, the Boba Fett comic, I believe. But again, who cares? Certainly not Disney.
And again, if they just stumble upon the same exact ship, that's as bad as a cartoon.
Yeah.
It takes away from the Razor Crest even being that remotely special in any kind of way.
It does, because I mean, the only other justification you have is like, okay, we know that the other Mandalorians left in Chapter 8, and many were killed. So what did they leave on? Maybe that vessel could be handed off to the Mandalorian. But if it's the same one, that kind of ruins the uniqueness of that first ship. So.
Yeah, it certainly will be interesting to see as we get to it, and to move things along towards the end of the episode. The child is taken and is in the custody of Moff Gideon, and we get an inkling of what exactly it was that he wanted it for, namely seemingly to clone a super being that we only saw in the shades, but many have pointed out that the background music played is the same one that is associated with a certain Snoke. What do you all feel about that?
Thanks for pointing that out. That's information I wish I didn't have now.
Well, we know that scar on, I guess, Snoke's head isn't really from an injury. It's actually to remove that giant growth that was coming out of the clone body that we saw previously.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to believe Cecil's theory.
Which is?
Well, his theory is that Baby Yoda is Rey.
That Baby Yoda turns into Rey, or Baby Yoda made Rey?
It's kind of something like that. On the surface, it sounds nuts, but then he starts explaining it, and you're like, that's almost as bad enough to be true. But basically, it has something to do with they make a a being, like a person out of the midi-chlorians and blood and whatnot of Yoda and whatnot, ends up being the baby that is Rey. And then Palpatine's kid takes Rey away because it doesn't want to be part of this and all this shit. He comes, it's a whole convoluted video he just dropped. So it's interesting. It's an interesting listen. But we got him on next Wednesday, so on the morning show. So I'll try and have him explain it again to Andre.
Yeah, that's gonna need some more explanation.
It kind of makes sense, but it's like, you know what? It's almost stupid enough to be real. Like, basically, he's saying that Baby Yoda will lead to Rey, and that's how they're going to connect the whole thing. So it's not much far off from the whole Snoke theory, really. Like, instead of it being Snoke, they're creating it's Rey. But I think, he's just
still doesn't answer why Rey can do everything and with no training. How did you learn to fly like? Where'd you learn to fly like that? I don't know.
Well, check out Doomcock's latest video and you'll find out.
Oh yeah, that's that was also that information was also on Ishibaka's Disney Star Wars: A Dumb blog like months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It was somewhere months ago, and it was Ichibaka that picked it up recently, and that's where Doomcock picked it from, and we're going to do something on it too. And to me, at least, that seems very legit. We have heard things to that end before, haven't we, Tom?
Yeah, there's a couple bits in there. Yeah, that didn't want. Well, this goes way back. Like, there was like 3 things that specifically popped out in that script to me that I remember hearing about before The Last Jedi came out that weren't in The Last Jedi, but they're in that story. So it's kind of like, wait a minute, and again, it goes back to the whole thing with, Simon Pegg and Daisy Ridley both saying that there was treatments made by JJ and they were thrown out. And that's something we've said all this time. And again, it does. I know it doesn't mean much now because it's too late, but it does mean something when you look at it in effect that what they did do with that trilogy, and as bad as it could have been, if they at least went with a plan, it probably wouldn't have been as much of a clusterfuck.
Oh, it would have been.
And in that version, Luke, to answer your question, Rob, is the reason why Rey is so good.
Yeah, I know that. That Doomcock video. He said
it has time travel, so it's kind of J.J. Abramsy. So
yeah, there's a lot of J.J. Abrams
pulling
in there.
Luke's pulling strings behind the scenes.
But yeah, there was something to do with his severed hand that I remember hearing about that never materialized. There was something about the sea monster fight I remember hearing about that wasn't in the movie, and there was something else I told you about, Andre, that I forgot that I remember hearing about before The Last Jedi, way before, and it was like that shit was never in the movie. So it was like I just kind of disregarded it until I remember hearing about this. So
we went from that to something. Oh yeah, I could kind of see that happening. To go away, you stupid girl! Get off my planet! Jeez. This is what happens, people, when you give a hipster a camera. Okay.
Something about I know. So there was also something about Rey being a Sith or a descendant of a Sith as well, and that I remember originally was being talked about. Something about a Sith queen as well, which is in that. So
it's something else stupid, basically.
Oh yeah, it had
they shoved into his new movie, if you noticed.
Yeah, it's like your own grandpa type of story angle that they were throwing in there.
Now you got me thinking of Futurama.
Well, I think the twist or the whole kind of thing of it was that her familial line was strong in the Force, but she comes from Siths, but there's a famous Sith that went to the light side, which is probably a rarity, and that's why she's quote unquote special, which isn't a horrible concept in and of itself, because that's basically what, the whole Luke Vader story is.
Yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts on this episode before we move on to the most recent one?
No, other than just
I would say props to Robert Rodriguez for adding in more screen time, given the fact that he was given a shorter script than the rest of the directors.
I think he did great. You had sufficient story for a reasonably short episode, and he made up for it with some really badass action. That's like better action that I've seen in many a movie. So
speaking of, do we want to address his tweet or his comment that was tweeted out?
where he basically said as much that it was such a. Yeah, I don't know why
Where
he
he
would.
compared it to a fanfic. And he said it was only 19 pages, and he had to
Yeah.
basically fix it.
He's not wrong. I mean, granted, Favreau is a fan, but it does have a lot of the hang-ups that fan films tend to fall into.
Was Favreau the one who? I don't know. Was he the? I don't think he was the one listed as writer on this one, though. I thought it was Filoni.
Well, Filoni definitely wrote and directed the one previous.
Yeah, but I think Filoni wrote this one too. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, let's see how we can find that out pretty easily, can't we?
Yeah.
Let's see. Written by Jon Favreau.
oh, was it? Okay, I
Favreau
was
wrote
wrong.
that one.
I apologize. I know he wrote the last one. I thought, but I didn't know about that one.
Yeah.
And
All
we didn't mention though that the episode with Ahsoka was directed by Ron
Dave
Howard.
Filoni also.
No, I thought that was the Ron Howard episode.
Nope.
Ron Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard did the one with.
Oh, she's the one with it. Never
Bo-Katan.
mind. Yeah. Bo-Katan.
Dave Filoni did the one with Ahsoka. He wrote and directed that one. Favreau wrote this one that we're just discussing with Robert Rodriguez, and then the next one was written and directed by the same guy, and the name's escaping me at the
Rick
moment.
Fumiyawa.
Yeah.
Fumiyawa. I can't say it.
Yeah, well, him. Either way.
Isn't he the
but
one
I
that's
think-
supposed to be doing a movie though eventually too, or is that somebody else I'm thinking of? I thought he was one of the many announced Star Wars movies, but I could be wrong. Black Lotus sends in 30. Black Lotus 30 sends in a Canadian $5. You know that someone is truly evil when they have baby-sized manacles.
Yeah, the handcuffs they gave on.
I know,
Baby
right?
Yoda.
Yeah, we were making fun of that. It's like, did they have those just laying around, or?
Like, we need them for all sizes, from infant all the way to geriatric.
Yeah, right. That was kind of funny. Mr. Tickle Drunk sends in a super sticker. I can't see what it is here.
it's a unicorn.
Unicorn.
Unicorn?
Yeah.
All righty. Thank you. All right. So let's get into this last episode then, the Bill Burr episode.
Yes, the Bill Burr episode, and that would be the most recent episode, chapter 15, called The Believer, both written and directed by Rick Famuyiwa. I guess that's about how you pronounce it. And this, of course, then is the one that brought back both Bill Burr and the great Cara Dune, or in other words, Gina Carano. So yeah, quite a reunification. And we also got to see Mando take off his helmet again to give Pedro Pascal some, from his point of view, apparently much needed face time. Not that anyone else asked for it. I'm curious about that, or I found it fascinating how well groomed his mustache was behind that helmet that he never takes off.
Yeah, I wonder who he's growing that for.
Yeah.
That is a terrible, terrible mustache. It really is. I'm sorry. I mean, you're better off shaving it at that point, dude. Come on.
Well, it's better than what Adam Driver can grow. Well,
Oh, you just made Pedro Pascal cry, especially Adam Driver. But yeah, okay, guys, thoughts on the episode? How was seeing Bill Burr again?
He was the best part of the episode.
yeah.
Other than that,
They did a better character arc for him than they did for Finn, and using some of the same principles.
exactly, yeah.
That's actually something that I said, that Bill Burr is a better Finn than Finn ever was, and that's not the actor's fault. That only goes to show the talent of those involved in writing, producing, and directing, which in this case would be Famuyiwa, of course, in addition to, of course, Jon Favreau and everything. So, like, that's imagine how much that must have offended Kathleen Kennedy to see again here. Does the Mandalorian does something 10 times better in one episode than she did over the course of 3 movies.
Yeah, but then you had the whole face business, which really kind of
The
fell
space
for it.
business, the transports that apparently have valuable resources being moved from the mine to the refinery, but no escort or defensive protocols. Yeah, I mean, because everything that came out of Bill Burr's mouth feels like it came from another story based on like the action that's going on around it. Because he makes these great philosophical arguments. He talks about what he believes in and how he finds little difference between the Republic and the Empire. And then if you want me to hop ahead to the pivotal scene, I can.
Go for it. Go for it.
And then he gets to the pivotal scene where he meets his former commanding officer, who luckily doesn't recognize him. But the whole reason we had to get the Mando to take his helmet off is because Bill Burr's character thought he'd be recognized, which ended up being not the case. But he has a sit-down talk with him, and he basically questions the judgment of this officer, saying, do you think it was a good idea to do this operation, which was basically destroy these very pivotal Imperial planets so that the infrastructure that was there couldn't be co-opted by the Republic and allow the Republic to be stronger? That was my understanding of what the operation was. You know, like burn the White House before another president takes office type of thing, or burn Washington, D.C. before a new administration sort of thing. And he challenges him, like, do you think that was a good idea? And the guy's like, yeah, this is a good idea. It's for the Empire, as opposed to Burr's perspective. What we get in that conversation is that he thought the Empire had his back, and the soldiers he served with their back and support because they were fighting a common enemy. But it turns out it wasn't that at all. It was all about the higher meaning of the Empire as a philosophy. And that's where Bill Burr comes to a decision like, yeah, like you're worse, and I'm terrible for having been fooled by you, and then, you know, shoots him. And I thought that part was really good, but I think it was missing something really important, and that was a clarification that the remnants of the Empire that are still here choose to be part of this because they share that same philosophy. Because right now there's still ambiguity about that. Like, part of it we understand, they're doing it because they're making money. Some of them are just there because they might not have any other choice, but they all fall under the same possibility that they could be like this Bill Burr character who just hasn't had his enlightenment moment, so to speak. And when he goes around and starts killing the other guys there for his own, like, he kills 3 other people who don't even really reach for their weapons. They just are in shock that he killed this commanding officer. And then he just goes out, starts killing them. It shows a little bit of a hypocrisy, but I think that could have been avoided if we got a commitment from that superior officer saying that everyone here is here for that same exact reason that I just stated. And because then you understand that, yeah, everyone in that compound is, you know, the problem, so to speak. And Bill Burr was the guy that walked away from that.
Yeah, and I can't help but point out that scene is totally ripped off from Django Unchained.
It was very much familiar with Django Unchained.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, indeed. But overall, though, I thought the end episode was tremendously entertaining, and I had a great time with it. But I may be the only one, because that's like the irony that I have found with Mr. H, who has a Patreon stream or something like that right now. But overall, the biggest fan that I know of this series, other than myself, is him. And the two of us, we aren't really Star Wars fans, but we're big fans of The Mandalorian. And I'm sure that I'm the one that has probably gotten the most enjoyment out of all of these episodes of any of us here on the panel, which I think is pretty interesting.
I enjoyed it, but there was just too many times I was stopping and saying the things that we've talked about. And it's like, you know, okay, you've got this highly volatile fuel or whatever the fuck it is. Why the hell do you have it on bouncy ass transports? Why aren't you just flying it?
Yeah, why is it under guard? Why aren't there guy more than just 2 people?
Yeah, just stupid shit like that. And then the whole ending, like in Django,
I can answer that because it's quicker and easier to, or because it's cheaper probably to drive it, and you have a stormtrooper drive it really carefully. That's how.
But they're like constantly under attack, and then we learned that he was the only transport that day to make their shipment. It's like, well, if this is important,
that's a problem. Yeah.
Tom, did you ever? This episode is actually based on a Roy Scheider. Well, a lot of elements are lifted from it. This episode's actually inspired, I'd say, by a Roy Scheider movie called Sorcerer.
Okay, I think I've seen it when I was a kid.
Yeah, where they have to transport nitroglycerin.
I was gonna say the nitroglycerin on a train.
Yeah.
We brought that up during Solo.
Yeah, by truck.
The Legend of Zoros movie too.
Yeah, but you know but in that movie they said, well, we can't fly by helicopter because of the turbulence. Because I imagine the same would apply.
No, I'm not here though, because on ships you don't have turbulence like you do, especially in I'm sure in an atmosphere. They've got levitating things. They've got
Theaters, yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
This is Star Wars universe. They don't care about
I get that.
atmosphere,
So
science,
let's
or
even
anything.
get
You're
past that
thinking
because
of
it was
Star
just
Trek.
fun and exciting. I get that. Okay, fine. And that part looked kind of cool as far as it was nice to see something different that wasn't a fucking, a desert or a forest. But then we get to the next part though that kind of bothered me was the ending, because at least in Django, you're like, oh man, you did that and you were just about out the fucking door, and that's kind of the whole point of that. And it's kind of the same thing here, but almost here it makes less sense, because like at least there it's like he's the character they've built up to this point with the character, and it's kind of the same here, but it's almost like what justification did that have, like other than to just start a gunfight like that? Just, and like Script was pointing out, he's going through these big soliloquies and then he turns around and kills 2 or 3 of his former basically comrades before they even draw a gun. It just like, I don't know, it just seemed really out of character at the moment, and it just felt stupid.
It felt the actions against what he was preaching to the guy about, like, caring about these soldiers that you serve with.
Especially when you had a situation where all you had to do is have the guy recognize him. Like, that's all you had to do. It's like, wait a minute.
You should be dead.
I know that sass, or whatever. You're like, I know you, you're whatever, and he'd recognize him, whatever. And then you just have the shootout that way, like something that would justify it. It just felt very out of place, like just so they could have that moment.
Well, it's kind of copying the same type of thing that what Finn was doing in The Force Awakens. His friend dies, blood on his helmet, and that's his moment of change where he's like, I gotta leave. And he leaves with Poe, and he has no concern about shooting up the hangar or shooting up the TIE fighters that are coming after him, or getting in the Falcon and destroying those guys, even though they're in the same exact position he was in 12 hours prior.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it just fell out of place. But otherwise, I mean, I do enjoy the character. I did enjoy the show. I seen how it was going to end. I kind of figured they'd let him go. I figured they just, get rid of his sentence and he'd stick around. I was surprised they just, let him leave like that. But I mean, they're just not going to pay him to stay around. That's another reason why I'm not so sure they'll keep anybody stuck around for too long.
Yeah, even though the show does improve when Mandalorian has more characters to interact with.
Which, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge improvement when he has someone around, because here's like the thing that just like Dread before, what kind of like made that movie was that he was really a supporting character in his own movie, in that it was another character that had the arc. So that he didn't have to have an arc. He could like be himself. And again, I'm talking about Judge Dredd right now. Like that's why Judge Anderson was or Cadet Anderson was in the movie, to free him from that, so that he could be the character he was always meant to be. And you kind of like have a similar dynamic going on whenever there is someone else there. Then they are kind of in the focus, that they are the one that go through the journey. And if Mando goes through a journey, it is because of these other characters. So you really need them. You kind of need those ensemble, and that makes for the best episodes, is what I find, at least.
And to your point with Dredd does go through a change. He doesn't believe or have confidence in Anderson, but he's there to give her a fair shake and make her prove herself to him. And by the end, that ends up being the case. And he does say, yeah, she's good to go. Like, he's done his job, and he's come to a little change himself with regards to her, but not necessarily a character changing moment overall.
No, exactly. That's the beauty. He's like, okay, what she could actually do this. Okay, fine. I was wrong about that a couple of hours ago. And that's really it. But he doesn't go through any other larger thing. There's no life-altering thing, stuff like that. And that's just the right way to do a movie like that. And it's kind of like the same thing here. And of course, The Mandalorian is on a big arc over the course of the series, but from one episode to the other, there's not that much changes there. And the change that there is, that's brought on by his interactions with others. Yes. So that's kind of like when the sparks actually fly. So you need those extra characters to make the series work.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, because I think he's got a good I mean, even with this episode right now, I'm kind of looking forward to next week's because he's got an interesting team. He's got Ming-Na Wen, he's got Boba Fett, he's got Cara Dune. They all have some good chemistry with each other. Just even at that briefing scene where they're talking about like finding the easily findable secret hidden Imperial refinery that apparently the Republic can't find, but Boba Fett can find it like that. I think that's like something interesting. I like the dynamic because we're getting different points of view and we're getting conflict of character goals and all that nature. And that's where you get your drama. But when it's the Mandalorian on his own and he's talking to a child that can't communicate back, it's intimate, but it's also arrested. We're not learning really much more out of it.
Exactly. But overall, I enjoy this greatly. So I'm looking forward to the final episode, and it's not next week's Mr. Script. It's in 2 days.
Oh yes, 2 days. Well, that's right.
That's why we're doing this right now, because between now and then we even have another episode of Star Trek Discovery to suffer through.
Yeah, I'm actually pairing my review of those 2 episodes together because they're part 1 and 2. Because I realize I just wanted a break. It's such a bad show.
Oh my god, it's so god awful. It's so awful. Like, oh my god, how could they do it?
Oh, that's a whole nother. We'll have to talk about that on another stream. But I will say this: I did like Bill Burr's last action. He blows up the 2 tankers. I mean, it doesn't destroy the whole facility, but definitely blows up that roof part. And I liked his justification for that. It's like he needs this to try and sleep at night, which goes back to the fact that I guess we infer from his earlier monologue that he hasn't been sleeping well at night. Probably because of everything he's done at that point.
Probably. All right, Rob. Any final thoughts on the episode, or anything else that stuck out with it?
Not really. I mean, it was good overall. You know, like I said, it's like I said, like been saying about the Mandalorian. It's yes, considering where Star Wars has been and where it probably will go. Right now, the Mandalorian is good enough, and that's, you know, considering how low the bar has been set, that's actually saying something.
No, I agree with that. It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. I hope this next episode is good. It wasn't the worst season overall, but it just felt like a lot of the same from the first season, though. In some parts, and other parts, not so much. So, yeah, I just hope it's good. I always got to keep asking myself, though, as always, is it only good because the sequel trilogy was so bad, or is it actually good? But I do enjoy watching it, so I mean, I can say I would probably watch it if it wasn't for the channel. So,
whereas my answer to that is this is good in its own right, because I don't really care about Star Wars, but I enjoy this. And even if you take all the Star Wars fronts away from it, I would still watch it. Because I enjoy it in its own right.
That's great, actually, that you do. I mean, that's really good. That shows the success for the show, when people can say that they genuinely enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just one thing, though, Andre, about you were saying about Star Trek Discovery. You know, the thing that's mind-blowing, and we'll talk about that tomorrow or whenever. The thing that's mind-blowing about Star Trek Discovery is that they are actually trying. They are actually trying, and it's still this bad. Just think about that for a minute. Imagine what would happen if they just didn't give a shit.
It would probably be better. It would probably be better, because their way of trying only goes to show how completely unfit they are to do that series. And if they weren't trying, then they probably wouldn't try to infuse so much of their own personality and their own ideology into it. And then you'd be left with shitty writing, but you'd be left with shitty writing that wouldn't be propaganda, and that would be better.
In their mind, not to belabor this, but in their minds, the people like Alex Kurtzman and everybody down the line, this is what they think. This is how they think they should make Star Trek is made. Like I said, so they are actually they are putting in effort here, and it is just horrendous. It is mind-blowingly bad to watch. And then we're seeing the dichotomy, though, of when people try to make Star Trek and when people actually try to make Star Wars. You know,
the difference is the people that are trying to make Star Wars is actually competent people.
Exactly.
Storytellers first and not ideologues first. And that makes all the difference.
I'm reminded of that scene in Patch Adams. He says, I want to help people. I want people to, I want to, ease their suffering. I want to actually make a difference. And the doctor behind the desk says, that's what I do. And Robin Williams looks at him, but you suck at it.
Yeah, well, that doctor's Tin Man from in the Tin Man episode of Star Trek, and was also it's funny. Speaking of Star, because that's still relevant to Star Trek.
I think what's funny is Rob's watched Patch Adams.
Let's get ready to party.
Actually, I liked it more than most people, but I know how most people dislike that movie. So,
well, they dislike it because it's very inaccurate, but yeah, I think as a movie overall, it's kind of charming. Yeah.
All right. So with that, I think we've pretty much buttoned up everything we can on these last 3 episodes, and we're looking forward to the final episode of the season, and we'll see how it goes. Outside of that, was there anything else anybody needed to add to the affairs today?
We have 2 super chats to add that have come in the meantime. Darksblade says, "One hope. Boba is Favreau's favorite character." Yeah, fingers crossed for that.
I don't think it matters.
And Mr. but then at least he would give him a good send off.
Well, that's what I think they're thinking they're doing. That's my point.
Yeah. And Mr. Tickle Trunk says, "Cutting your mustache avoids helmet shaking."
Well, there you go. See, maybe Pedro needs to take a note from you.
Yeah.
Stephen Otten has a question for the panel. Which movie do you prefer, The Wages of Fear or Sorcerer?
I've never seen The Wages of Fear.
I was going to say, I've not seen The Wages of Fear, so I guess by default, I'd have to go Sorcerer, and I have not even seen that since I was a kid.
I think I remember The Wages of Fear. That's a live-action film, I think, right? Because Sorcerer's a cartoon, isn't it?
No, it's a live-action one.
Oh, I know. I'm probably thinking of something else.
The Sorcerer was the train one with Roy Scheider.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. I'll probably have to say Sorcerer right now because I don't have enough recall on The Wages of Fear at the moment.
I have never heard of The Wages of Fear, and I've never heard of Sorcerer either. So, I think I'm going to vote blank on this one.
Wages of Fear is a very similar sounding film. It's about a South American jungle, Supplies of nitroglycerin are needed at a remote oil field. The oil company pays for men to deliver supplies in 2 trucks. A tense rivalry develops between the 2 sets of drivers on the rough remote roads where the slightest jolt could result in death.
It does sound awesome, though.
Yeah, from 1955.
Sorcerer is pretty much the same movie, yeah.
Similar plot.
I have to check both out because that was that's an awesome concept. So
there's a great scene where towards the end where Roy Scheider they have to go over a rickety bridge and the guy is supposed to be guiding him is ready to run away. Oh no, you're guiding me across that bridge. You wanted to come here.
And we also got a super sticker from
the one and only.
Yes, I don't know what that is, but
it's a diamond.
Diamond. He always says it's a diamond. I should know that by now. There you go. All right, folks. Well, there you go. You got a couple of good recommendations. If you did enjoy this last episode, there you go. And I'm sure both of them are better than Solo. So,
that does not take much. So.
All right, kids. We got another super chat real quick here from Taker610. Would you guys prefer a Poe series over Andor? Well, yeah. So I don't think anybody gives a shit about Casio keyboard. I like his robot. That's about it.
You know how you know what happens to him. There's no stakes.
Yeah. He was the least interesting character of that movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I mean,
As
at least
for me,
Felicity
though,
Jones had a lot of good butt shots, so you could.
yeah. Actually, I'm going to disagree with you. I prefer an Andor series over a Poe series for the very simple reason that the Andor series will probably have that badass robot, and that's
Yeah.
reason enough. Whereas a series about Poe that would just tie into the sequel trilogy, now wouldn't it, and remind us that that thing happened. So
How
I'm going
about
to take
neither?
well, that of course would be the best choice of all. But given a null sum question in with one of those two, then I'm going to go with Andor any day of the week.
I'm going to go with Rob's choice, and I'm going to watch porn.
Oh, a certain, I'll tell you about it off air.
Oh gosh.
That's never good.
No, well, no. It was trending on Twitter the other day. I'll tell you off the air.
Yeah, I think I know what you're getting at here. So,
Marcos wants to know our thoughts on HBO Max on Roku now. Did they get it on there? Yeah, that was part of the thing I heard that was part of the reason they did the big announcement was so they could get Roku back to the table to negotiate.
Well, that's good.
So if they did pull that off, that was one mission accomplished, I guess, by them.
yeah, that's one of the things they had to do. So yeah, good for them. Now they need to get working on their international distribution.
Pretty much. All right, kids. What do you say we put a cap on this one like my soda bottle here and bid everybody adieu, and until Friday morning or the next mead, which I think is tomorrow night, we'll catch most of you later, I guess. We thank everybody for the super chats. We thank Script Doctor for joining us this afternoon, as always. It's fun to have him here with us. And we thank all you for watching.
Indeed, we do. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll have both more live shows and regular scripted content coming for you real soon.
Take care.
Bye bye.